Let us start with some deep breathing. We will just do a few deep breathing. So now, as we do of deep breathing, one of the practices from the Vignyan Bhairav is that as we breathe in and then as we exhale our breath, and as when we come to the point of exhaling our breath, we make like a huh sound, like a little forcible huh sound. And then we try to experience that state of openness, a state of wideness, where the mind drops and the momentary feeling of abiding in that self. So this is a just a practice for doing that. So regular breathing. So we can even do a few more rounds of deep breathing, and then it will be more effective. So inhalation, either you can hold and exhale, or you can just do deep breathing and just momentary feel that break, that pause, and then exhale. And then at the end of that, we do like a kind of sound. Ha. So it is actually the sound of visarga. In our Sanskrit, it is varnasya savisargasya visargantam chittam kuru. That is the instruction there. It's like the ha of the visarga, but we force it a little more so we can feel that and say ha, ha, ha. And then as you do that, feel that state of openness, feel that state of beingness, and just see if you can rest in that for a few seconds. So again, wherever you can, few times in the beginning, as and when possible. And as and when you have any kind of a thoughts, emotions also, you can, during the contemplation today, the rest of it, you can bring that. And then try to feel that sense of abiding in that Shiva-tattva, that supreme consciousness. In the Vignana Bhairav, all these moments are the moments of Shakti, and that openness, spaciousness, stillness, that is the direct abiding in that Shiva Tattva. And with the wisdom and with the grace of Shakti, we are led back to resting in that Shiva Tattva. And let's try to just either for a few seconds feel that sense of beingness which is ever existing before the arising of any sense sound, any thought, any feeling. All of that is a moment away from that Shiva-tattva. So in that beingness, in that tattva of our own nature, when we learn to rest, then every moment away from it is the moment of, so every knowing of a sound or a thought or a feeling or a body sensation, all of this are moments in that Shiva Tattva only, but takes the mind away. Then arises that sense of I-ness, that subject and that object. So naturally, without forcing it. So here we are not trying to do any kind of a yogic practice of forcing the mind. We are using contemplation, the power of using our contemplation and wisdom to rest back just by mere recognizing that nature of consciousness in between the thoughts, in between the perceptions, and in between any kind of sensations. Now, in that beingness, in that state between the thoughts, between the sounds, or wherever, where naturally the mind rests, there we can try to experience that. And then again, when the mind moves, we can ask ourselves, when these thoughts, sensations, perceptions arise, and that perceptions subside into that beingness, what is my nature? What am I then? So the question in the here is Kasmadasmi. Kasmadasmi means what am I? And we are all familiar with this in the Shastras and other teachers telling us the question of who am I? So here we are going to ask, what is it? What am I? What is my nature in between these thoughts, in between these perceptions, and in between the arising even of any object? So here we are not thinking about any text or any teachings. We are just trying to use the pointers given by the teachings to directly experience that nature of beingness. So the text tells us, Yada mamecha notpanna jnanam va kasmadasmi vai tattvatoham tathabhutas tallinasthanmana bhavet. So when we are able to identify those state of beingness, which is a natural basis for every activity of thought, perception, sensations, then tattvatoham, I am that essence. Then I realize for a moment there is a direct experience without any thought. It is a direct abiding, we say, tattvatoham, that understanding will come. And identifying with that, tanmana bhavet. So we become that. We are not like looking at it as something outside of us. We become that. And if you ever experience again too many thoughts, or if you're not able to focus, then use that initial practice of just taking a couple of deep breaths. And it's almost like how people sigh, like there is a sense of relief and openness. So you can try that whenever required at your own need as your own. But if you're able to abide in that beingness, then just rest in that. Again, here we are not trying to go deep into any state. We are just trying to rest in our natural state. So it is not trying to experience some deep state of samadhi, well being, peace, but just trying to recognize that natural state of joy, well being that is within us. Right behind our mind, our ego, is this ocean of our beingness. Sometimes when we abide in this, we experience some kind of emotions that arises, some feeling, or even especially what we call as some klesha or shadripus, that feeling of desire, anger, thing, some hidden memory. So let it arise. No need to kind of forcefully try to look at them, but as it arises, use it as an opportunity to kind of see the essential nature of consciousness right within it and behind it. So, two ways. One is to just see that arising and in a very interested state of seeing that nature of consciousness that supports it, that beingness, the energy, what we call as the Shakti, that energy. So rather than getting caught up in that content of that thought, especially if it is anger, fear, emotions, we can try to see it just as a manifestation of energy, that Shakti that arises and subsides back into that Shiva-tattva. Or another way is to do this, just break that completely with that deep inhalation and that ah kind of feeling, and just to rest in that. See again that openness. So, this way, every experience can be a useful pointer to the nature of beingness. If we have the understanding, if we have that recognition, then even this negative experience of anger, desire, lust, arrogance, jealousy, all this can just be seen as a manifestation of that energy which arises from that beingness, and inherent in them is that beingness. So everything becomes a practice to abide in that beingness. The teachings tell us Kama Krodha Lobha Moha Mada Matsarya Gochare Buddhim Nistimitam Krutva Tattvama Tattattvamavashishyate. So when all these six enemies of the beingness, which are lust, anger, greed, delusion, arrogance, jealousy, when these are seen through, meaning their essence is seen through, when we realize that in their arising there is nothing but just energy, but the contents of our mind and ego creates these different colored experiences. So when we can see through them, when we can see the essential nature of all of them, then we realize that they're not different from that underlying tattva. So tattvam avashishyate. So that alone is there. That alone is the reality. But it gives us a seeming dualistic experience. So all through the day we have this opportunity, because these emotions are always rising in us in some degree or the other. But because we are not aware, we get carried away by their content. So instead, when we experience this, we can become very interested in seeing their underlying nature of that one beingness, that one energy that supports all different emotions. Or we could use something like just take a deep breath and exhale out with that sound of ha and just rest and feel that momentary sense of openness, recognizing that beingness. In these practices of non dualistic nature, we're not interested so much in mastering a technique. We are more interested in using the technique to abide in that wisdom, abide in that recognition. So that is what makes these purposeful for our recognition. Let's take this last couple of minutes to just invoke that divine presence, our own beingness, by praying to that Shiva and Shakti in a conscious acknowledgement of the divinity of this dualistic perception. So instead of seeing a natural worldly dualistic perception, we try to divinize that and we consciously seek the ego, the mind seeks that conscious submission, humility in that presence. And say closing prayer. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shaktirupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Shivam Shantam Jagannatham Lokanugrahakarakam Shivamekapadam Nityam Shikaraya Namo Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.